Hi, everyone, and welcome to Into the Shadows with Regina and Teresa. I'm your host tonight, Regina, and my co-host, Teresa, will be joining us in a few minutes. First of all, our guest tonight is Lydia Chava Berestecky, and I hope I did not mess that last name up. She is an ordained pagan priestess, so I cannot wait till she comes on and we're able to. I had someone message me and ask me, are you a real psychic or are you like the ones on TV? I didn't know how to respond because, yes, I'm real. I'm a real medium. I also believe that Teresa Caputo and, some of the other ones, I can't think of her name right now, Russo's her last name, Kim Russo, I believe she's the real deal. There's a few out there that I completely believe in. It kind of goes along with all this because people are just seeing the paranormal as entertainment, and they don't understand that there are people, real mediums, real sensitives that do this work. And so it's all like, and this just happened today. It was so funny because this was our subject to talk about on the show tonight, and I got this message today from this lady. And so it just really got me thinking about everything. People are confused what's real and what is fictional as far as, on movies and TV and that kind of stuff. It really is, I don't know, just baffles me. I've never had someone just come right out and ask me. I think now we will add Lydia to our call and chat with her for a bit. Hi, Lydia. Welcome to our show.
Hi. How are you?
Good. This is Regina. I want to tell everybody a little bit about you before we get started. This is Lydia Chava. Now, you tell me if I'm messing your last name up. Lydia Chava Berestecky?
Right. You got the last one, but not the middle one. It's Chava. It's actually Jewish. And the CH is pronounced like you've got pneumonia. Yes. Chava.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you are an ordained pagan priestess. And
yes.
I cannot wait for you to tell us. If you could go ahead and let us know a little bit about yourself and what that means.
Well, you make it sound so glamorous, and it's really very simple. My faith, I guess you would call it, is pagan, and I'm an ordained minister. So, yeah, I do hand fastings, pagan marriage ceremonies, and home blessings and baby blessings and the different things. Really, it's whatever, anybody who calls me, it's whatever they need. And if they aren't Christian or Jewish or, whatever religion, then they call a pagan priestess. So basically it's a glorified way of saying I'm an ordained pagan minister.
And for those of us that aren't real familiar with with paganism, what exactly does that mean? What is a pagan?
Basically, pagan, it's a label that's given to somebody who doesn't adhere to another particular religious following. And within paganism, you've got all sorts of sects. You've got Wiccan and Druidism and solitary practitioners, which I'm also a solitary practitioner. It's just, I don't really call it a religion. Wiccan is a religion. But paganism it's like I said, it's basically a label for one who believes in things outside of traditional mainstream religious beliefs. We're very earth-oriented. The elements, air, water, wind, and fire, we give back to Mother Earth and that type of thing. We have, and not everybody celebrates them. There's a lot of pagans who celebrate what they call the Sabbats, that's our holidays. And like Samhain, which is Halloween, that's one of them. And there's several throughout the year, but I'm not really faithful at celebrating all of them. There's the ones that pertain to the moon, the solstices I celebrate, but it's just the simple definition is I don't practice any of the mainstream religions. I practice my own religion, which is very much an earth religion.
It's so interesting. I want. It's almost like I feel a real connection to anything that has to do with paganism. And Teresa can tell you later also, because I really feel in a past life that I was a witch. I've had things happen to me, memories and just different, dreams, and I'll be in a certain situation and I'll feel like, oh, I've been through this before. I know exactly what to do in this situation. And so I'm very interested in this type of thing, and that's one reason why I've just kind of I've been pulled, kind of attracted to you, because I know that you're involved in a lot of this stuff, and
right.
But my big thing is I kind of like, why do you? Because I've been doing a lot of research and reading and stuff, but why do you think that people, paganism is kind of misconstrued as being like of the dark side and that type of thing?
Well, I think for a lot of reasons, and maybe some of my reasons won't be real popular with some of your listeners, but this is just my opinion, and so there. It's not the opinion of Regina and Teresa. So I think that anything outside, especially when it comes to the religion of Christianity, and I haven't been pagan my whole life. I was raised Pentecostal Christian. We came from the tongue speakers and that sort of thing. No snake handling or anything like that, but definitely tongue-speaking Pentecostals is what I was raised with. And my other family background is Jewish, so I am really a Heinz 57 of a human being. But I think that it's deemed as evil. For one thing, people don't understand. They don't take the time to do their research and find out exactly, anything associated even with witchcraft, it's all of Satan and it's evil. And that's what people automatically think. And it couldn't be farthest from the truth, because especially among witches, and you don't have to be a witch to be pagan. That's two very separate things. I happen to be both, with a little bit of Jew thrown in. I'm also a practicing Jew. So like I said, I'm Heinz 57. But I just think that because in Christianity, the Bible is such a prominent book, and it is God's word. Nothing is added to it. Nothing gets taken away from it. It is the word. And in the Bible, it says don't consort with witches, don't believe in more than one God, and anything outside of that is of the devil. Anything that detracts from the one God couldn't possibly, if you're against God, you're not for him. So, it therefore would be classified as of the devil. And I think if people would stop and do some research, and instead of just being judging someone by something they really don't know, by something that they're told, rather than something that they've researched on their own or gotten that information on their own, they would not be so scared. I think it's fear of the unknown, too, is part of it. They just know what they've been told, and they'll take that as gospel and not vary outside that thinking. But that's one of the main reasons that I think it's considered evil.
Yeah, I think so too. I think not being educated in the areas that you're judging on is a big one of the main problems. Kind of like what you said. But anyways, and I don't know everything, about it, but I have done some research, and I'm going to continue to, because I find it very fascinating. Because kind of like I was not brought up Pentecostal, but as an adult, I became a member because my best friend was a non-denominational, but with a Pentecostal background,
Right.
Preacher. And so I became involved with her church. And the moment that they figured out when I was praying over people and I knew too much of their life, they kind of put 2 and 2 together and figured out that I was a medium. And
Right.
I didn't just have discernment in the church, like so many of the other elders that prayed over people, but I could actually tell them past, present, future about their lives. They pretty much kicked me out of the church.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so after that happened, I just kind of determined that I had a lot of questions, about was I really following the right, the right God or the right, or what, and I'm still kind of going through that. So paganism is almost, I believe that it goes along with what I believe, and so I've been doing a lot of research, especially since I met you, and we kind of just had some little discussions on Facebook and stuff, and but anyways, I kind of want to delve into the part of you being kind of with the paganism. You consider yourself, I guess, a witch. Is that okay to say that, or do you want it to be referred to in a different way, or?
No, witch is fine. That's everybody who knows me knows that I absolutely 100% identify myself as a witch, and I have been a practicing witch since I was 13 years old, and I'm 49, so that was a long time ago.
Now, when you say that, is this since it kind of goes along with the being pagan? It's mainly for the good, kind of like what somebody would call a white witch, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really funny, and I'm going to get crude for just a second, but not too crude. But it's really funny because my daughter, who is one of my best friends in the world, anyway, we used to pal around a lot when she was in her later teens, and I would be driving here in Austin, and somebody would cut me off, and I would look at them and say, "Oh, I'm going to give you greasy farts and acid belches," and that's like the worst thing I've ever said as a witch, and I was just joking then, but I don't wish anybody any harm, and the witchcraft that I practice, it is absolutely all for the good, and all that. The rituals that I do, I use a lot of herbs, and I use the 4 elements. I burn herbs, I burn candles, I use the moon, the cycles of the moon, water. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm a water sign, so I do a lot of intentions with water, and it's like it gives me something tangible. It's like prayer, and doing the intentions, using the herbs, the candles, that sort of thing. Basically, it gives me something tangible to focus my prayers. And I don't call them prayers. I call them intentions. I don't even call them spells. I call them intentions. Like right now, I'm looking for a house. And so I performed an intention. I used a combination of herbs. Different herbs have different vibrations and represent different things. There are herbs for love and herbs for prosperity and herbs for health. And all the colors represent different things. And so I use a combination of the herbs and the candles, and I did a little intent that draws on the energies of what I pray to, which is basically the universe, and the elements, the air, water, wind, and fire. Our bodies are created of that energy. And there is that larger energy that makes up all of creation. And that's what I draw on. That's what I pray to. We're one with everything. We are one with each other. We are one with all of creation. And the universe and creation, from my point of view, doesn't see us as individual things. We are all one big energy. And I have plants, and if some of the leaves on my plants are turning yellow or the plant isn't doing as well as I would want it to, I nurture it and I take care of it and I prune the leaves back and I, loosen the soil, do whatever it takes. And so I believe that the universe does the same for me. If some of my leaves are wilting, I believe that the benevolence in the universe is available for me to draw upon. So that's the kind of witch that I am.
It's so interesting. I mean, as you're kind of explaining all this, it's all. I know this sounds funny, but it's almost as if I'm just having a conversation with a friend from a past life. Like we're talking about what we've done and that type of thing. I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's almost as if I can see myself doing what you're talking about.
That's interesting.
But, yeah, it is. But I'm going to bring Teresa on because I know she has some questions for you, and I could talk to you forever and keep you all to myself. But I think she has some questions for you. So, Teresa, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Hi, Lydia. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Teresa. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I have to say that I agree with a lot of what you say. I grew up in a family where my mom was a very unique kind of person, and she took us to every church possible so we could experience the Baptist everywhere. I've even been to a Mormon church before, as far as they'll let me in. You know what I mean? And then, and then, she let us pick for ourselves. And I'm different, so kind of like you and Regina, we all kind of learn to feel different things and to grow our own beliefs. And I've kind of like looked into different, religious aspects, Wicca and Pagan and all that too. And of course, I consider myself more metaphysical and spiritual. I call it Teresa's religion, basically.
Right.
So it has a name, and there's only one member. So that's myself. But my question to you, to help with cleansing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm a part of a paranormal team right now, Fear Paranormal Society, and I love my team. But before I got to my team, I actually worked on my own, and I worked actually specifically with children who people would be experiencing things in their homes, and there would be children involved. And what I would go and do my own investigation, and I would work with children who had abilities, and in almost 90% of the cases that I did, that was the case, that the children were becoming aware that they had abilities and not understanding it. So I would help them develop, and by abilities I mean their psychic abilities. And but yeah, as a pagan, I have been called to do cleansings. Now, I'm interested in the fact that my personal beliefs, I do not believe in the demonic. I believe that, and this is my belief, nobody else's, but my belief is that evil comes from man. Human, and I don't mean men, but humankind. That is where evil is born. It's like you said, if someone was a jerk in life, they're going to be a jerk in death. And that's where I think that evil comes in. So I deal with it on a different level, being that I don't believe in the demonic. My Jewish background, I learned who Satan was. And it's very different. The Jewish definition of Satan is very different from the Christian definition of Satan. So I took all that information in, and with my own personal studies, came up with my own solid belief system. And I've studied, I've read, I've talked to demonologist after demonologist, And I solidly stand in my belief in that the demonic doesn't exist, that evil comes from humanity. And so because of that, the cleansings that I've done, I do it from a different perspective. I don't do it from a religious perspective. And it's really funny because other teams that I've been on, we would go into some place, and if there was, supposed demonic activity, and we would feel something, I am psychic. I hate using that word, but I have abilities. And I would go in and I would sense something that was really dark. And immediately they would be like, oh, well, you don't want to talk to it. You don't want to do this. But I would just walk up and sit, I would sit down and be like, why are you being such an ass? Why are you tormenting these people? Why do you want to scare these people? And I would literally, whatever this dark energy was, I would literally have a conversation with it. And I actually got kicked off of a paranormal team because another psychic told him I was going to end up getting them killed because I consorted with demons. And so, it's just really different. On the residential investigations that I've done, if there is a dark energy there, sometimes I can find the root of it. Sometimes I can't, because I do believe in the elements. I think that there are some elemental creatures also. I know I'm getting way out there now, but I do believe in elemental creatures. If we were created, who's to say that other creatures weren't created also? There are earth creatures and fire creatures, and one reason I say that is that's how I got into witchcraft when I was 13, was a fire elemental creature approached me, which that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I've gone the long way around to answer your question, but yes, I have gone, and in those cases where someone felt like they were having demonic activity or some sort of dark energy in their house, I would try and get to the root of it. And if I couldn't get to the root of it, then I would do a cleansing, the way that I do a cleansing. And sometimes it's making an offering to the elements. In my practice, sometimes the families of the residential cases that I've been on, they can be out of balance with the elements. We get so wrapped up in our electronic devices and working every day and, getting our regular daily life routine that we forget to go outside and enjoy the flowers and the breeze and look up at the sky and go out at night and actually be in awe of the moon and the stars and the vast universe out there and just appreciate the creation around us. And I think it's not necessarily an act of malevolence, but rather it's benevolence. And a lot of people don't understand it because the universe and all of creation is constantly trying to reach out to us and to make our lives better and to take some of the stress away. And we're so busy in our daily lives, we don't see that. But anyway, I'm going down a rabbit trail now. But did I answer your question? I said many, many words. Did I answer your question?
You sure did. And of course, don't think your opinion's not mine, because I wholeheartedly agree. Anybody that listens to the show knows that I have an opinion on the demonic thing, and I can't stand that everybody has reached out to try and make everything bad. I am like you. I believe that you have good spirits, you have bad spirits. And, like you said, you go in there and you sit down and talk to them. I think that's very important. The other question I would have, I'm just going to kind of get your opinion since you brought it in. Your idea, the devil is a little bit different than everybody else's. Can you go ahead and kind of give a little detail on what your idea is?
Sure. My personal belief is that, okay, this is where I really hope you have listeners once I'm not on your show. But this is, like I said, this is just my opinion. I have done lots and lots and lots of research. I've done lots of research about Christianity and Judaism, because part of my heritage is Judaism. And I love Judaism. I just love it. And but I don't agree with a lot of the definitions. You know, when the Bible, or when the church, let's just start, when the church was being formed way back thousands of years ago, when the church, as we know it today, is being formed, it was in a lot of trouble because people were worshiping false gods and had multiple gods. That was very common for people to have multiple gods. And then here the church is forming, and the Hebrews, they believe in one God, and then the Christian church, the after Jesus people, they were failing because the Hebrews were doing their thing, and the rest of the people were believing in many gods. So I believe that Satan was created as a political move of the church. It was used to strike fear in the hearts of man so that they would be drawn to Jesus. Jesus, 150 years after Jesus' death, when they began teaching about him, they said, okay, there's the devil, and, there's a hell, and if you sin and you go against all these rules of the church, you're going to end up burning in hell and damnation forever and ever. But there's this person, and his name is Jesus, and he can keep you from all that. And I think it was like good cop, bad cop, and a political move by the church to make people more cohesive and to bring more people into the church because the church was failing. Christianity, way back in Jesus' day, was not cohesive. And there were way more pagans and other people following other things, and they were following the one God and the Jesus tradition. So that's my particular belief on who Satan is. In Judaism, I was taught that Satan was created as a tool, and there again, in Judaism, Satan is not evil, as it's defined in Christianity. Satan was created as a tool. The word, it's ha-satan, and it's actually the adversary or the challenger. And basically, Satan was created as a tool to make men come toward God and to make men just better people. And you're given an ideal of what's bad and what's evil. Lack of compassion, not loving your neighbor. The 10 Commandments, all those things. Don't, coveting your neighbor's wife and stealing and killing. Those are a standard set of rules that I think any of us would agree. Those are bad things. By any religion's definition, those are bad things. And so they created this Satan to kind of be that reflection where, okay, here's a list of all these things, but then there's God, and God is all the opposites of these things, and God is good, and God is love, and God is grace, and all these things. So from the fullness of my religious education, that is my definition. My particular one, I don't believe in Satan, but from where I derived that from was being taught first in Christianity that he was bad and he was evil. And then my Jewish education taught that he was a tool that actually drew men to God and not away from God. And from that, in my own research and my own studies and coming into my own mind, I personally believe that it was all a big ploy of the church to draw people in. So there you go. I hope you still have people listening.
No, we do. This is what the show is all about. I mean, we're here to talk, and we have an open format. So your opinion matters. Everybody's opinion matters, and I think it's a good thing to get everybody's opinions out there. Whether or not we agree doesn't matter. I think you're a very interesting person, so we're going to continue on with this show, and we'll let Regina go ahead and jump in.
Awesome.
Well, I want to kind of switch gears and go towards more of the, I guess, psychic end of things. And I know you do like card readings and different things like that. Do you do that as a business, or is it just kind of for yourself and friends, or how do you practice that?
I primarily it's just for myself. It's just for my own. If I'm having trouble making a decision about something, or if something's going on in my life, and I don't very often try to see the future, and I'm using those little air quotation marks. But sometimes I'll try and get some type of perspective, different perspective to see, and all it really does, there again, it's like, using the herbs and stuff in witchcraft. Using tarot cards just helps me confirm what I already know. On a rare occasion, I'll do a reading for a friend, but it's very rare. The closest I come to doing that is for a long time, I was posting a card of the day on Facebook, and I even quit doing that. There's so many people out there who post cards of the day. I don't need to because somebody else has already posted one. But yeah, I primarily just do it for myself.
Now, I know this may just sound kind of funny, but I'm just wondering, since you are a practicing witch, are there ever circumstances where you see someone else's as having issues or different things? Would you ever try to help them by doing, I don't want to say a spell, you called it an intention? Is that what
right.
You call it? Would you ever help them by doing that for them without them knowing? Or is this something that that the person would always need to be part of?
Yes, absolutely. I would never, ever do an intention on behalf of someone else without their permission, or a lot of times I have a lot of people, even people I'm friends on Facebook that I've never met face-to-face, have messaged me and asked me to do intentions on their behalf. That is a big witch no-no. You don't do any intentions toward anybody else without their knowing or without their permission. That's a great big no-no.
Okay. I'm just learning like everybody else, and and I just kind of want to get a idea of how things work, and so what is the number one thing that you have people ask you to help with?
Oh, gosh, it would probably be to find their soulmate. That would probably be the number one thing. But I've had people ask me to do intentions to get rid of their ex-spouses, not for them to die or anything, but just for them to go out of their lives and move on to something else. And people also ask me to do intentions for money, just different things like that.
Now, and this kind of goes along with that, but do you ever have some people come back to you because things maybe didn't work the way they wanted it to?
Actually, I've never had anybody come back and tell me that. If I do an intention on somebody's behalf, I let them know that magic isn't instantaneous, that sometimes what the universe does is takes an intention and manipulates circumstances so that the actual outcome is dependent on the choice of the person the intention is done for. So even if somebody, wants me to do a love intention and to bring their true love in, I may do it, but it may be that over the course of the period of time that it's taking the magic to work. They may discover that this person that they had their eye on, the universe reveals to them that they're really a jerk or whatever, and they don't want anything to do with them. So that's what it is the majority of the time. So I've never had anybody come and say, this didn't work out the way that I intended on it. Usually it was, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that this happened because I could have gotten into that relationship and it would have been disastrous. So So yeah, I've never really had anybody come and say, no, that didn't work out right.
Well, and then also, we were talking earlier in the show about how certain things in the paranormal are so glamorized and stuff like that. And of course, we've all seen movies with about witches or witchcraft or just different things like that on TV or whatever. And it always seems to me like anytime you see something that has to do with practicing witches, that they're always there's more of them than just one. Say there's 3 or 4 witches that come together. Is that something that's glamorized for TV that makes them more powerful, just for the big screen, or is that something that is true, like for real life, that if more than one practicing witch comes together, if more than one of them come together, does that make the intentions or spells or whatever stronger, or how does that work?
Well, a direct answer to your question is, yeah, I believe that it does. And that's, by me being a solitary practitioner, it means I am not a part of a coven. There are lots of covens of witches that are particular groups that meet every single time for every single ritual. And I actually have a group of ladies that we get together. Sometimes it's for full moon, sometimes it's for a Samhain or, any of the other pagan holidays. We'll get together, but not every single one. And it is really powerful. In the particular group of ladies that I meet with, we're all ladies, and there happens to not be any men a part of our group. It's not because they're not welcome or invited. That's just the way it happened. It just happens to be all of us old crones, as we call, because I think I'm probably the youngest one in the group, and the oldest one I think is 82. And
oh wow,
there's about 7 of us that get together on occasion, and it's powerful. Anytime, if you have ever been in a group of strong women, you can feel that energy in the room. You can be sitting having a cup of coffee, talking about television shows, and you'll still walk in that room and feel the energy of those women. And that's the way it is when witches do get together, and the focus of the intent is the same for all the women, and it is very powerful, and I believe it is more effective. There's been several times when we have gotten together. The older ladies in the group have various health issues, and we would all focus around them and send forth our intentions for healing for them, and it was extremely powerful and very effective. Some people would get there with back pain, for example, and by the end of the evening, they would have no pain at all. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that it is more powerful when, more women of a common mind, and I think that's the case of anything, not just witches, but anytime there's a group of people of one mind exuding that same focus and focused energy, it's going to be really powerful. So, yeah, that really does happen. There's a lot of us that are solitary practitioners, but there are some people who practice in covens, and they're that way all the time, in a collective group.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that Teresa and I are both, I guess, I hate using the term psychic, but psychic mediums. And when we can just be on the telephone, and it's just amazing how that our energies flow. And anytime we're in an investigation together, it's just wild, the things that happen. So I can understand, exactly. It's a very similar circumstance. But anyways, I tell you, I could talk to you probably all night, and we're gonna have to get together Definitely. And I know we've been talking about getting together and doing lunch or something, and we've got to do that. We have got to do that. But Teresa, was there anything you wanted to add?
I know that you believe in 3 times fold.
Right.
Now, when you're talking about spells and not being able to do one, somebody gives you permission. I wanted to ask your opinion on bindings.
On bindings. The only time that I have done binding intentions were for people who were in danger. And the rule kind of goes out of the window. Never would, even someone who was bad trying to hurt somebody, never would I do an intention to harm that perpetrator, ever. But I have done binding spells for people in abusive situations just to have that person go away. Either let them get caught doing the bad thing they're doing and let them go to jail, or let them go chase something shiny, just something to take them away from that person. And if, the universe knows the intent of our heart, regardless of the intention that I'm putting forth as a witch, the universe knows the intent of my heart. And I'm just using this as an example. But if a woman comes to me and lets me know that she is in an abusive relationship and she feels trapped, she doesn't have a plan B, can't get out of it, is there anything I can do to help her? Then the intention of my heart is not to harm her abuser, but to remove her out of that situation. And I do it both ways, and it's not very often that I've had to do this, but I've done it both ways to where I have done a very protective intention around the woman, and then had done a hidden things intention, which let things come to light. If the abuse is hidden, let someone else see it. Let someone else report it. Let him be removed from her, that sort of thing. So when it comes to the case of human life, I would be in agreement with doing a binding spell, but not just because you don't like a person or, something like that. It has to be a potentially life or death situation in order for me to do that.
I wanted your opinion on it because I see some people kind of, take it a little bit a different direction. And sometimes if they don't realize it at the moment, and then when they ask for something like that to be done, they can't really, take that back. We're glad that you're being open, Lydia, about your beliefs, and don't worry about anything you have to say.
Well, I appreciate that, and I definitely appreciate both of you being so open-minded. And, I'm a big advocate of educating people about witches and witchcraft. Yes, we do really exist. No, we do not worship Satan. I'm really good friends with the people that are involved in the Vampire Court of Austin here in Austin. And they've done a fantastic job promoting. There really are people who totally live the lifestyle of vampirism, and there really are people who live the lifestyle of being a witch. And I'm all about educating people, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and be able to talk openly about it and maybe dispel some of the misbeliefs about witchcraft, and just to let people know that, no, we really don't worship Satan, and we do have, not all witches, not everybody adheres to the rule that if you do evil to someone, it's going to turn around and bite you back 3 times worse. There are people who, which I was going to say, y'all were talking earlier, and I know my time is almost up, but y'all were talking about how people watch the ghost shows and all of a sudden, the next day they place an order and have their ghost equipment and boom, they're paranormal investigators. Well, it's the same with witchcraft. A lot of people, it seems attractive to them because, they can do the spells and, have money and love and fame and so forth and so on. But like with being a paranormal investigator and anything paranormal, This is not a game, and this is not a joke. This is a very serious spiritual path, and you can't play with it. You can't just decide tomorrow that, oh, I'm going to practice witchcraft, and I'm going to Google a spell so that I marry Brad Pitt. You can't do that because, for one thing, the universe is not going to let you do it. Second of all, you open yourself up to very dangerous, that if you are not truly educated, it can really damage you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So just, it kind of goes hand in hand, the witchcraft and the paranormal as far as that is concerned. So I'm really glad that y'all brought that up. That was really good that you talked on that for a minute.
Well, and with that being said, though, people that are truly interested in paganism, that, you know, people, and this is for the people that have already, you know, tried other religions and they don't fit, you know, like they've been through, you know, they've tried, you know, church Christianity, they've tried, you know, all different, multiple things, and they just do not fit. And they feel like paganism might be their fit. What would you suggest that they do to try to get involved?
There are millions and millions of books out there. There's a lot of information available on the internet. Not all of it is good information, but, you know, when you're following a spiritual path, you can read something and, you know, whatever it is, if it resonates with you and it kind of hits your gut, then you know, okay, maybe that's something else I need to keep Googling this, or go to your library, or go to, you know, your local bookstore. You take a bunch of information in, you ask people, Google, Facebook. We've got so many resources right now. Take as much information in as you can, and the universe will put you on your path. Definitely trust your definition of God, whatever that is, whether it's one God, 10 gods, or the universe. That higher power will keep you on a path. And it just starts to unfold. It sounds really corny, but it really is. It's like taking a walk. It's a journey, and you'll take a bunch of information in, and you'll know what to spit out and what sticks. So the resources, start with the internet, because there's tons of stuff available. You can find me on Facebook. Either, you know, message me. You can look on our paranormal team page, which is Fear Paranormal Society Austin. Find me somehow. I'll be happy to answer your questions and steer you in the direction of some of the authors that I read. Christopher Pensack is one. I have no idea how you spell his last name, but if you Google it and type it in, Pensack, I think it's Penzak. Even if you get it wrong, Google will help you with that. He's got a lot of really good information about that, and that's where I would start to find more information. There's so many good resources on the internet.
Well, I think you know, everything that has to do with paganism and the lifestyle of being a witch it's very interesting, and if people are serious about it, I suggest that they do as you said, and you know, and check things out. Go find books, start reading, doing your research. But you are so interesting. We're running out of time, and I hate that. I hate that we're running out of time, but I just wanted to thank you for being on our show, and I'll be in touch, because we're definitely going to have to get together. And
for sure.
I thank you so much for being on the show, and we will talk soon. And
all right.
And I will possibly have you on again at a later date to discuss
absolutely.
this further.
It's been a blast. Thanks so much for letting me be on here.
Thank you so much for an interesting show. We appreciate it a lot. And blessings for the weekend. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you both. Thanks so much.
Well, I want to, in our closing, I want to thank Lydia Chava Berestecky again for being on the show. And thank you to all of our listeners out there and all our chat room friends. On that note, Teresa and I want to send love and light to all of you until next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.